Hi guys, in this video we are going to learn how to paint this beautiful holiday botanical card. Welcome to another video with me, Clarice, and in this video we are going to be painting our first holiday card, and we're using the Strathmore watercolor cards set that comes with envelopes and folded watercolor cards. They're about 5 by 6 inches in measurements, and this is what the cards look like. It's got a little bit of texture on it, and these are what the envelopes look like. The envelopes also have a little bit of texture on it, very elegant, and I think very fitting for the upcoming holiday season or even any other special occasions that you may have. So before we get right into our painting, let's talk about our supplies really quickly. For my brushes, I'm going to be using the Princeton Velvetouch number 4 and the Princeton Heritage number 3. For watercolor, I'm going to be using my Daler-Rowney set of watercolors, and I have them all outside to the side. Because it's the holiday season, I'll be adding a special touch to these cards by using the Daler-Rowney liquid acrylic in pearl white, and they are pearlescent. I've got my paper towel handy, and I have a palette off to the side, and I also have water off to the side, and we are ready to begin. We're starting off by doing a very basic drawing of berries at the front, or front and foremost, and then I've done quick sketches of these little twigs in the background where we're going to be painting different styles of leaves and additional berries to enhance our winter composition. So we're going to start off with using the number 4, getting some of the Hooker's dark green and just mixing a very light version of this. We're going to start off with painting these berries in a super light green and almost mimicking a white but with a green tinge. And I'm going to take a little bit off the, not the indigo, the Van Dyke brown, just to sort of tone down the brightness of this green and make it more of a woodsy sort of green. Getting more water and mixing so that it is a lot lighter. And now we're going to go in and start painting the berries, and we're going to really enhance the areas where they connect just to give a little more shadow effect. So here's a close-up of what that will look like. So with the washed out color on my brush, I'm just going in and I'm circling the areas roughly first. So go ahead and circle all your little berries, and you can even push some of that excess color into the ones at the top as we're starting from the down up or from the bottom up. And here we go. I'm going to get a little bit more color, add some of that at the top. And then this last lone one off at the bottom here. Then what I'm going to do is take my second brush, which is the number 3, and I'm just going to spread the color on the insides, and some of them I'm going to leave a little bit of white space just at the top so it kind of mimics a glisten. You can also swipe off any additional color if you feel like it's way too green and dab it on your paper towel. Now once that is done, I'm going to keep the green, the number 3 brush, and I'm going to take a little bit more of this green mixed in with some more of the Van Dyke. So we want this consistency to be a little bit more color, less water. And the reason being is because we're going to go in here and we're outlining the areas where they connect. So make sure you have the right sort of green. And so I'm kind of outlining the areas where the berries connect. Now this is the step where you're going to notice how the center of the berries look whiter, because whiter not wider. And this is mainly because we have now like a darker outline for these, for the rest of them. So it immediately kind of just pops up. Now I like to do a little bit of blending. So washing off my brush, dabbing it onto paper towel, taking off as much color as I can. I'm just going to blend this in. Okay, now getting a little bit more of that Van Dyke brown and now lessening the water even more. So we need a darker rendition of this. We're just going to go one last time in the center bits here and add a darker hue. Now I like to do this wet on wet, which is why I've not waited for it to dry up fully before doing this. You can, if you prefer wet on dry, you can absolutely wait for it to dry completely before going in and doing this. The next thing we're going to do is taking the number 3, I'm just getting some of the Van Dyke brown directly from here. I'm going to mix it on to my palette. I got a little bit of splatter on here. And you can actually just get it directly from the color cake as well. I'm going to get a little bit of this brown in here, and this is burnt sienna. And so now we want more color, less water, nice fine pointed tip for the number 3. And we're going to be outlining to create our first branches here. So very, what's the word I'm looking for? We're not looking for super flowy with the stems. We're looking for more of a branch kind of effect. So watch me just kind of lightly graze and extend and create these branches. So if they don't kind of connect in one fluid line, that's okay. Just kind of give it that nice branch look where it kind of abruptly kind of goes up to a certain area and then bends. So harder edges, but again, very loose. So we're not super focused on all these tiny little fine details. We're almost finished. And one final thing I'm going to do is just highlight or really darken the stem, the main stem that is. So now that that's done, we're mixing in more of the hooker's green in here. And this time I'm going to get a little bit of my yellow ochre that I have off to the side here. And this is such a fabulous mixture that you can add to get some nice lighter looking greens with a more yellowy tone. So find the shade that you like, so mix it about. Different variations or ratios till you like the green, or you come across the green that you like. I'm even getting in a little bit of burnt sienna in there. And now with a 30-70 consistency, like 30% color, 70% water, I'm just going to use the number 3 to create leaves on this right here. So starting at the tip, pressing down, trailing off. Then I'm getting a little bit of water on the tip of my brush to kind of make it looser. lighter. And we want to have different variations of this leaf. So as you can see, I'm getting smaller looking leaves. I'm getting leaves that are kind of floating in the air. So that's why I'm giving it a little bit of a upward turn over there. Another one kind of just floating downward. We'll have one kind of almost mimicking in the direction of that branch. A couple in between, dipping the tip of my brush in water to get a lighter version of the color. We're going to go ahead and create more at the top. So give it a little bit of a wiggle to get more organic looking shapes. So the key to good leaves is starting with the fine pointed tip, pressing down for a thicker center, and then trailing back off on the tip of your brush. We're going to continue filling all these areas with leaves until we are satisfied. Some can intersect like that. Once we're done that, I'm going to continue using my number 3, and we're getting some of the cadmium red, and I'm mixing that onto my palette here, and we're going to start off with that 30-70 consistency, and we're going to start creating little berry style elements. So I'm mixing a little bit of that brown that we had mixed, or the dark green, to get a darker version of the red. And we're going to start creating little berries that are probably going to come out into here. So let's do a little bit of a circle here, tiny little circles, and we're kind of building up on our sprig of berries. Again, the smallest berries can be at the very top, and then the larger ones more towards as you're going lower. And you can create your sprigs as full as you want, or as lightly embellished with the berries. The choice is yours. So here's one. I'm going to do one more kind of fanning out over here. And having them overlap some of these elements is fine. I'm leaving a little bit of white space in between, as you can see. All right, so now we can wash this off, get some more of the brown on our brush. So I'm using the burnt sienna, and then getting some of the Van Dyke brown. Nice fine pointed tip. We're going to lightly use the tip of the brush, extend all the way down, pulling lightly, just grazing the tip of our brush to get nice thin points, or what's the word I'm looking for? Thin strokes for our thin branches. And here's another one. This time I'm joining all the berries downward. Perfect. And now we have our cute little berries. Sometimes after the fact, you might decide, hey, I'm just going to add a couple more berries in there just to kind of give the area a good shape. And that's exactly what I'm doing here. This is what I like to call going with the flow and really not having a set idea in mind outside of the elements you are going to be doing. And then kind of just embellishing to add more shape and beauty to your composition. Next thing we're doing is getting more of that darker brown, and I'm continuing to use my number 3, and we're just going to create or paint in this plain brown branch, because again, having variations of thicknesses, sizes, all these different things in your composition really makes for a very interesting look, and that's what we're kind of going for over here. So we've got branches with leaves, we've got branches that are just plain dried looking brown branches, we've got berries that are bright in color. So this is our variety. So I'm lightly grazing again. I'm going to get some of that darker color directly from the color cake and draw this in. You can have some of the branches overlapping on the leaves like this. And again, we're going for thin lines. Okay, so there we go. We've got our nice thick branch. You can also mix a little bit of that color with some of the indigo if you're looking for a slightly darker hue. And I'll just do another like branch, small little branch kind of protruding from here. Using some indigo, and I'm mixing that in with our Hooker's green to get a beautiful teal-ish sort of color. And we're looking to get 2 variations of it. So notice how I'm mixing like one side of it with additional indigo, and then the other side I'm leaving more green. So washing off my brush roughly, because I want to use more water in this section and less color. So we get a nice lighter feel to our eucalyptus style leaves. So, right. One comment, this branch right here is actually going to be reflecting berries similar to the red. So we're going to be doing another branch that's kind of protruding from here to reflect our eucalyptus style leaves. So here's how we're starting that off. We're going to start off with, for the sake of folks who are not quite savvy to eyeball things, I'm going to start off with using the Van Dyke Brown, and we're going to create a nice stem starting like this. I'm going to get a little bit of that indigo mix that we have done, and I'm just overlapping on top of that. We've got a lot of this brown happening here already, so I just want a slight variation of another color just so it looks a little bit more varied. I'll do another one here. Perfect. So these are going to be shorter in comparison to all the tall stuff we have happening. So washing it off, I'm getting some of the green, and we're going to paint in tiny little rounded shapes like that. One at the top and then starting from the sides. And then I want you to mix, have a variation of different colors happening. So you can either choose to start off with all the green, like forming your leaves in this green, and then going back in and adding some of this darker hue. Or you can do what I'm doing, where I'm kind of alternating. I started off with green and now I'm kind of going lower with this darker tone. And notice the shapes that I have, very organic looking, rounded, not hard-edged like the leaves. And all I'm doing is using the tip of my brush to kind of paint in a circle. And then we're creating leaves on either side like this. So some can be flat. And as I'm going lower down this branch, I'm actually making them darker. So this is the way I have chosen to do it. Feel free to go a lot lighter if that is the vibe you would like to see in your card. We're going to do our last sprig of berries, and for that I'm mixing more of the burnt sienna on this side. Make sure as you're painting this your hand doesn't go over any areas that are damp or wet. So I'm kind of putting my hand out here and reaching my brush forward by extending the hold on my brush further up the handle. And then I'm going to paint in my stems or branches first. So this is the opposite of what we did for the first round of berries. I want you to get used to doing both and then deciding which one works better for you, because I know this works a tad better for me, because usually when I want to do berries, I want them to be whimsical and flowing, and when I end up doing it, sometimes I can't connect them properly and they kind of get on my nerves. And that can happen to you guys. So find what brings you joy and go with that. So now we're mixing some of the red. So I've not really washed off my brush from the brown, and I'm just getting some red directly this way, mixing it onto the side here. And now we're creating little circles just like we did for the first two sets of berries, I guess. And we are leaving a little bit of white space within it, so we're not painting the whole thing. So draw the circle in, color it in, leave a little bit of white space. And if you don't, that's okay. Remember, this is a loose style of painting, so it's fine to get away with some areas that are not completely uniform like the rest, because we don't want it to look symmetrical. We want there to be more of a loose, whimsical feel to things. See, now these two look like a blob. So my quick fix for something like that is going to be creating another little circle at the top. So it kind of takes your eye away from that discrepancy, or it takes the attention away from that discrepancy. I know this branch is from the bald branch that we painted in, but I still added a little bit of a berry situation there. This is going to be the second last step. We are going to be using the pearlescent liquid acrylic by Daler-Rowney, and it is in white pearl. And so make sure you give it a good shake. And I love these because A, they come with a dropper. And so I'm just going to put a little bit of that happening on my palette right here. So like a little goes a long way because this is acrylic. You can mix it with some water. You can also mix it with some color. But what I'm using this for today is going to be mixing it with just water. And I'm using the number 3 still. And we're going to go over these areas in our berries. And we're enhancing, we're just adding a little bit of shine to it for that lovely holiday feel. So I'm mainly touching up on the top portion of the area of the berry where it's meant to be more lighter in tone. So I want to keep the shadow effects dark as they are, so I'm not going to be adding too much over there. So I'm lightly kind of grazing to add these in within the lighter portions, and I'm trying to leave the center area that we've left a little bit of white space in still open. So at this point, we're going to allow this to dry, and then we're finally going to go back in to add little dots onto our berries. While we're waiting for this to dry, I had an idea. Why don't we mix a little bit of this color in with some of the green that we have left over? So we're getting a tone like a very light green like that. And I'm getting lots of water on my brush, and let's do a splatter. So using the number 3, I'm just going to hold my brush like so, and the splatter will fall more upward. And so now we're going to get this beautiful light green splatter, and it's going to have a little bit of a shine to it. So I've done that, but I'm also going to add a little bit of the white pearlescent some more on the palette. And I want to add like a white splatter. Perhaps it can look like snow. So now most of the pearlescent on the berries is dried up. So once again, I'm going to take my Van Dyke Brown, and I'm using my number 3 to mix this color in. So we're getting the color directly from here, so it's dark and very deliberate so that these spots on the berries stand out. And I'm placing these dots for the ones off to the side, more to the edge. For the ones facing forward, more to the middle. Now I'm seeing some of them are still a little bit damp, so we're getting a little bit of a blending happening in there. And that is okay because, again, we're painting very loose, and I don't mind it. It actually kind of adds something like an imperfection to our painting. But if you're someone who something like this would be bothersome, I suggest that you wait for it to completely dry off before doing anything of the sorts. All right, so this is what the card looks like. I hope you guys enjoyed this botanical holiday card. Let me know in the comments what you thought. I hope you found this helpful, and I hope this gives you a ton of ideas on how you can use what we have painted here. You can either repeat the same style, or feel free to take these elements and create a wreath or create items coming out from the card diagonally. And this way you've got your own perfect greeting for your friends and loved ones this holiday season. Thanks guys for watching, and we'll chat soon. Bye.